What up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Shinobi Squad Podcast. I'm fan service Renji.
I'm Shana Mostella.
Halloween month continues. Remember
Yep.
what we told you last week? What is the name of this month? Say it out loud right now. Say it. Halloween month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good enough. Halloween, the insert number of the day here. Y'all thought we was playing when we said we talking about Halloween, spooky shit all month. No, we still talking about it. We still going. After having some conversations about what to talk about next, we came across things you shouldn't be doing on Halloween
Oh, yeah.
or around Halloween time. It doesn't have to exactly be on Halloween, but you know what I'm saying. What's the first thing you want to say, Shauna?
Do not, for the love of God, play with Ouija boards during Halloween. You're going to invite something you do not want. A lot of you out there who are skeptics and want to say that it's all a joke and it's just, haha, hee hee, just fun, whatever. It's not. A lot of these movies you see about, some kids are playing with Ouija boards and then here comes a demon or here comes the ghost they can't get rid of, whatever. That shit is real and I cannot stress that enough. I don't care if you're a skeptic and you don't believe it. Just do me a favor, okay? Don't play with Ouija boards at all, period. Especially during Halloween.
For those who don't know, what is a Ouija board?
A Ouija board in general is just a way to communicate with spirits. It's got the whole alphabet on the board. It's got numbers on it. It's got yes or no on the corners. You play with it with a planchette, a little thing that has like an indicator in the middle where you can like see what letter comes up when the pointer goes to whatever letter or number. That's basically what it is, and you don't have to play with an actual Ouija board. Like you don't have to go to Barnes and Nobles. I think Barnes and Noble still sells them for some reason, but you don't have to pick up an actual Ouija board. You can make one yourself. You can write down letters and numbers, yes and no, on a piece of paper. And you can I've seen people use a shot glass as a planchette or just like some kind of like, something that will guide your hands to all the letters and numbers and everything.
You pretty much just need the letters and some kind of indicator, some kind of pointer. Yeah, because I've had people make their own at home.
Oh, yeah. You can make them out of anything, which makes them even more dangerous because anyone can make one out of anything. It doesn't have to be the official Ouija brand or whatever. It could just be anything.
I think it's like Milton Bradley, like one of the popular board game companies, actually sells a Ouija board in stores.
Actually, I don't know if they still do, but I remember seeing them in Toys R Us.
They used to, yeah.
They used to.
You'd go checkers, Clue, Monopoly,
Oh, yeah.
Ouija board. Like, wait, what?
And I remember seeing them in stores right around Christmas time. And I'm like, Mom, can I get a Ouija board this year? She's like, hell no. It's right next to the teddy bears. I don't have any personal Ouija board stories because my mom, growing up, she never allowed that stuff in the house, and for good reason. Anytime I had a paranormal experience, I would tell my mom and she would believe me. So it's no like mystery like why or why she wouldn't want me to have it, but I've always been drawn to them. I've always wanted one as a kid. I do have a story that one of my grade school teachers told me because I was telling her about, my fixation on Ouija boards and stuff like that. I think I might have been in the 7th grade, middle school, and my teacher's like, well, there's a good reason why you really shouldn't play with Ouija boards at all. And she told me her personal story. She said she was in college. She was playing with a Ouija board with her roommates. They were, playing with it and like spooking each other, like thinking like somebody else pushed the planchette when they did it. And you know how that whole thing goes. It just started going crazy. It started seeing things like I'm dead or just saying like weird things. And they just got really scared. This teacher was also very Christian and very into religious things. She was very religious. And then she's like, yeah, after, the board started spelling out words and stuff and talking back to us, we got rid of this board, or at least she tried to. She said her and her roommates threw the board into like a barbecue pit and they lit the whole thing on fire and like watched it for a couple seconds. And then the board jumped out of the fire. She did that again. They threw it back in the fire for a second time. came right back out. And then after the third time they threw it back in the fire and it jumped back out again, they're like, you know what? Forget it.
Damn.
Yeah, and the one thing that I've always known about Ouija boards is like if you want to get rid of it, first of all, it either has to be burned if you can, or submerged in water and you put like a stone over it so it doesn't move or anything. Only two ways you can get rid of it. If you do, for some reason, play with a Ouija board, the one thing you always have to remember, the number one rule, if it is saying stuff and it's like pointing to words and like pretty much like communicating back with you, you're supposed to always point the planchette to, I think one of the things on the board says goodbye. Yeah, it says goodbye in the middle of yes and no. You always have to point the planchette to goodbye before you're done playing with it.
Yeah.
Do not break your circle. You can't walk away from it. You can't throw it away until you say goodbye first.
Yeah.
Because that essentially just closes the door or whatever veil you lifted up to talk to these ghosts. And that will pretty much like let it die and you'll be done with the game, and that's how you end it.
Damn, that's saying a lot because you went to like a religious based school. So for your religion Christian teacher to tell you that at a private school, like I'm sure she broke a lot of policies.
Oh yeah, she was trying to get us kids to be up on it too, because from what she experienced, she's like, I don't want to see you guys go through that because we were terrified.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get rid of the damn thing. So
that's crazy that your teacher would tell you that.
Yeah.
Especially at a private religion-based school.
Oh yeah, it was a private Lutheran school, and these people don't talk about things like that. Because any like religious person, at least the ones I've come across, will always tell you that ghosts aren't real.
Yeah, yeah.
And that, God will always protect you and yada, yada, yada. But like they never straight up say like ghosts are real. But my family are Baptists. I don't know if Lutherans and Baptists have the same ideas or whatever. My Baptist raised family always told me that ghosts were real.
Yeah.
And they never denied it ever. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but like this Lutheran woman told me, do not mess with Ouija boards.
I wonder if the board game company put that in fine print somewhere. Hey, this may ruin your life.
Do you remember those commercials that used to come on for the Ouija boards for Milton and Bradley? It was like, no offense, but it was like a group of white kids around
it's
the
always
Ouija board.
Every scary movie ever.
I just remember this from when I was a kid, and they had their hands on the planchette when they move it around and everything. They're like, I'm not moving it, you're moving it. I remember that commercial and it going like that, and they're showing the Ouija board being played with. Even as a kid, I'm just like, y'all weird.
Yeah. I've learned early on from my OG brother, you don't mess with Ouija boards.
No.
Why do I know? Because he always messed with Ouija boards. He has bought a Ouija board. He has made his own multiple ways. I remember he had notebook paper and a cup from the kitchen. And he just wrote out the letters and he's like, hey, come here. Put your hand on this cup. I wasn't too familiar with a Ouija board at the time. So I put my hand on the cup and it's starting to move. And then he's telling me, yeah, we're going to talk to the spirits. Like, oh, hell no. I just put my hands up. Like, we ain't doing this.
You got to say goodbye first before you walk away.
Oh, he kept playing by himself. Isn't that like one of the rules? Don't play by yourself?
Yeah.
Well, he played by himself.
Because they will take advantage of you.
So let's get into a story that he told me. Once again, my OG brother, he's my oldest brother. He's never been one to mess around. He doesn't joke. He's not someone you want to cross. My OG brother, not one to mess with. He's done some questionable things in his life. He doesn't tell lies. He doesn't joke. He doesn't exaggerate. He is from a third world country. He remembers the days of living in Southeast Asia. He remembers climbing up a mango tree to take a shit so a wild dog doesn't bite his balls. He's lived a life. He remembers swimming across a river while communist soldiers shoot at him and my mom and dad while they're fleeing to freedom. No stranger to hardship. He tells me a story about one Halloween-ish party they had. Him and his fellow gangster buddies had a party. Of course, he thought it was a good idea. Let's play with the Ouija board. As we said, Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley, whoever made board games, had them readily available. They rushed to their local store and get one. come back to the party. They start playing it. Very quick, they start getting messages that aren't the most friendly. These messages address my brother's best friend. We'll call him K. The Ouija board starts talking to him specifically, and it starts threatening him. They start to ask specific questions. Who are you? What are you going to do? And all it says is, you'll see me at 2 a.m.
Mhm.
And they kept asking questions, and the Ouija board starts moving. Leave before 2 a.m.
Mhm.
Once again, my brother, Triple OG, he ain't scared of a Ouija board. His best friend K, also fearless. They thinking one of the other dudes messing with them.
Mhm.
They keep playing, and the messages never falter.
Mhm.
They keep addressing this K person. They keep telling him, I'm going to come see you. You better watch out. Finally, K being drunk was like, man, screw this. I'm done with these Ouija board games. K was also as fearless as my brother. K just takes the Ouija board, goes outside, just like in your story. They had a barbecue pit, puts it in there, lights it on fire. He sits there, watches this thing burn, puts the lid on. Man, let's get back to this party. Man, screw this kid shit. They go back, they keep drinking, enjoying the rest of the night. Nobody's keeping track of the time. K goes to go pee. Guess what time it is? It's Ouija board time. The light cuts off. K starts screaming in the bathroom.
What?
He runs out with his pants down and his dick out. Who turned off the light? Who turned off the light? My brother's like, dude, what is your problem? And put your dick away. K is sweating bullets. Dick still out. Somebody came in the bathroom and whispered in my ear and touched my back. My OG brother's like, man, ain't no one trying to see your dick. No, seriously, dude. Someone came in the bathroom, whispered in my ear, touched my back, and cut the lights off. My OG brother, being the leader of the gang, stopped the party. Who went to go see K in the bathroom with his dick out? Speak up right now, because if I find out, I'm going to beat your ass. Like, who was it? Everyone had an alibi. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Anyways, nobody was in there.
Mm-hmm.
They look at the time. It's that time that the Ouija board said it would see him. They start freaking out. And Kay finally pulled his pants up and put his dick away. They were really concerned at that point because my brother and Kay were like the 1 and 2 of that gang.
Mm-hmm.
So ain't no one was going to mess with them. They go to the grill. They pull the lid open and the Ouija board is right there.
Wow.
Perfectly fine. Kay is losing his mind. It's like, y'all saw this thing on fire, right? Y'all saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all saw me light this on fire. And my brother was like, yeah, I saw this shit lit on fire. And they try to burn it again. And they watch everybody as a group watch it light on fire. And they put the top on it. Went on with the rest of the night. Everyone got drunk, passed out. They woke up the next morning. Kay and my brother went to go look at that grill. And the Ouija board was right there still.
Wow.
Nothing else happened that day. Fast forward to a year later, Kay went to prison. They got into some like gang war or some gang fight. Kay shot somebody's shoulder off with a 12-gauge shotgun.
Wow.
Multiple guns were fired, but the only person that got locked up was Kay. My brother likes to associate that Ouija board experience with Kay going to prison. It was a rival gang fight.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was snitching on anybody. But for some reason, Kay was the only one that went to prison after that.
Mm-hmm.
And Kay served 5 years too. It's not like he just went to county jail or nothing like that. He got convicted for attempted murder. The guy he shot lived, but nobody else got locked up except him. So the lesson that my brother passed down to me was like, that Ouija board was out for Kay. And a year later, he went to prison.
Damn.
The rest of us didn't. We was all shooting guns. We was all doing wrong. But for some reason, nobody snitched on anybody. My brother, from that moment on, he still continued to mess with the Ouija board. He still used to make homemade shit. I remember him telling me he would make a homemade Ouija board and take a shot glass and just play by himself. And he would always tell me, yo, spirits talk to me.
Is that why he kept doing it? Because they just kept talking?
Exactly. He kept doing it because they kept talking to him.
Well, I hope he played it properly.
But anyways, continuing on with the topics of things you shouldn't be doing during the Halloween season. What do you got next, Shauna?
So, a big thing. Don't go looking for something that you're not ready to see.
AKA, don't go ghost hunting if you're not mentally prepared to see a ghost.
A good example, actually one of two good examples I have. There's a show on the Travel Channel. It's called Ghost Adventures. You could probably catch it on Hulu now. It's on one of those streaming sites, but it's been on for years now. And the lead investigator of that show, Zach Bagans, went to this house, this haunted house in Indiana. We've actually been there. We drove past it because it was just so close to where we used to live in the Midwest. And on our way back from like a convention we went to one year, we took a pit stop through Indiana to go see this house. And this house was notorious to be just super haunted. It was along the lines of Amityville horror kind of thing where like just stuff was happening all the time. It was like something out of the Poltergeist, or it was just a really crazy haunted house. So this house was believed to be haunted by a demon. Just a lot of bad juju, bad spirits, bad things that were happening there. This lead investigator of Ghost Adventures, he took his whole team there, but he decided that he wanted to rally up the spirits and, make something happen, because if he has a show on TV about, investigating ghosts and haunted places. Yeah. But he did this one specifically for a documentary that he had on Hulu at the time or in Amazon Prime. He was like just poking sticks at these ghosts and these spirits and just causing a ruckus. Shortly after this taping of the documentary, something happened with his vision. He had like something happen with his eyes. He got some kind of sickness or some random illness in his eyes where he couldn't really see as well anymore. This man had never worn glasses before. He's never had any visual problems or anything with his eyes or any kind of injury or anything like that. He started wearing these like really thick glasses all of a sudden. That. And I remember you asking me like, why did he start wearing glasses?
Yep.
You would watch this show with me. Like you would be like sitting next to me watching it, because it would be like really entertaining sometimes. And but you notice that he was wearing these big thick glasses. I had stopped watching the show for a while after that documentary, and I didn't really know why he was wearing these glasses. He had said something on Twitter, because I follow him on Twitter, of course. But he had said something on Twitter saying ever since he was at that house, something had happened with his vision. He got some kind of sickness or illness where he couldn't really see as well anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's why he had these bifocal kind of thick glasses. Of all the years I've been watching Ghost Adventures, of all the times that he's been because that's what he does in the show. He antagonizes ghosts and try to cause a ruckus to tape something on TV for the show. That's just what he does. But I've never seen him get injured over it. He might get followed, and maybe wherever he was living before or during the time, something would follow him. He would talk about that all the time. But this was something that inflicted damage and illness onto him after the fact. Because what he did shortly after he got his illness in his eyes, he had the house demolished in Indiana. He bought the house and then had it demolished after that because it was just too much. But then he also stupidly saved a piece of the basement where this demon was supposedly conjured or where it stayed or whatever. They believe the demon came from the basement. He kept the original basement stairs.
Why?
And the original dirt, because
white people shit. I'm sorry.
By the stairs was this. They kind of left half of the basement with its original earth and the ground and everything. So he took dirt from the original foundation and he put it in this museum that he has. He has this museum where wherever he's been, wherever he's investigated, he'll take a piece of that place and put it in this museum. And he has the stairs and the dirt in this said museum.
I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt.
And guess what's inside?
Demon shit.
This museum is in Vegas, before you can even step foot inside this museum, you have to sign a waiver.
Wow.
Because there's been accounts, like a bunch of accounts where people have said, like, I went into this museum and I got sick, or something happened to me, or, some people, if they're older, they have heart attacks when they leave this place.
Oh, no.
It's a lot of bad juju. It's a lot of bad spirits. So you kind of have to have a waiver signed if you want to do this.
Imagine reading that on the Yelp reviews. Yeah, I went to this museum and I got a heart attack. Huh, awesome. I want to go.
I have a couple of friends who wanted to go and see this museum with me because I happened to be in Vegas a few years ago. There was really nothing to do one of the days that I was there. And even my friends were like, I don't know if I want to sign this waiver, though, because, like, what if I actually do get sick? Even they were just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Of course.
Because, of course, everyone's curious. Everyone wants to see what other people deem as haunted or, cursed or whatever. But I'm like, well, if anything, that shows you that this is the real thing.
Yeah. I remember trying to find that house. It was late night. It was 2 a.m. You're like, hey, I think we're getting close to Zach Bagan's house. So we punched it in the GPS.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to that house was rough. Parts of Indiana, it's a battlefield. The street that the house was on wasn't even fully paved anymore. Like the pavement had been tore up.
Right.
We're going down the street and it's like rumbling and shaking all the way there because there's barely any pavement.
Mm-hmm.
We get to the house. It's all boarded up.
It was so hard to even get to the house.
Yeah, by just driving up to it, and we stopped in front of the house to look at it at 2 a.m. It definitely looked like a condemned area that no one should be in.
Yeah.
It was boarded up. There was no way in or no way out.
And this house just looked so lonely and so, like, desolate. And it was boarded up at the time. I remember taking a picture of it on my phone because there was speculation that if you took a picture of it, you could see somebody in the window.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and I didn't see anything, but just being there just felt weird. And I even got out the car and, like, went. I didn't go, like, completely up to it, but I went to, like, on the sidewalk. And it was just one of those things where you're like, I can't believe I'm even here,
I didn't get out the car.
He did not get out the car.
Nah. It felt eerie driving up to it just because how the conditions of the neighborhood was. It definitely felt like one of these shitty ass hood houses that a lot of sketchy shit went down.
Yeah.
Shana jumped on, took her picture. I was like, hey, get back in the car. Like, we got to go. I didn't feel comfortable just being in that neighborhood. But then to be in the neighborhood with this spiritual, spooky house, I was ready to get out of it because I felt it. I felt it in my bones. Like, no, we got to go. Hurry the hell up, Shana, before we start driving and we look in the back seat and someone's in there with us.
Yeah.
Don't go look for this shit if you're not ready to deal with what may happen afterwards. And I didn't feel right being there. That's why I wanted to hurry Shana up and go.
I was younger back then, so I'm gonna blame it on that.
Yeah. So what else you got?
Well, going back to New Orleans, and I told you guys in the last episode that we would revisit this subject, but we went to New Orleans for my birthday last year. We just wanted to experience everything that New Orleans had to offer, including plantations, ghostly tours, of course, all the food and the drinks and everything. But besides that, like, we really wanted to, delve ourselves deep into the culture, into everything that happened there. And we wanted to, just soak ourselves in history and just learn everything that we could. Of course, one of the biggest appeals is the French Quarter and, all the ghostly tales and, plantation stories and plantation ghosts and stuff like that.
Yeah, for those that don't know, New Orleans, the city itself, not just Louisiana State, but just the city of New Orleans, there's a lot of history of different groups of people, a lot of tragedies and pain. A lot of people just think of New Orleans as, oh, let's go get drunk for Mardi Gras.
Right.
But New Orleans had battles that determined important moments in American history. New Orleans had the natives that were there. They had the Americans that were originally the British.
Mm-mm.
They had Creoles that lived there,
Cajuns.
Cajun people. So there's a lot of different history. And then the Africans that were brought over as slaves. So it's a mix of a lot of different people. There's a lot of spiritual energy there.
And we wanted to get a taste of all of it.
Going out to New Orleans, I wanted to get a lot of the history. One of the things I really wanted to do was visit the slave plantations. I wanted to really educate us on what really happened on these plantations. We all hear about the cruelties of slavery, but none of us really know the details.
Oh, yeah.
Just in New Orleans alone, all the way up to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, there's plantation after plantation because the Mississippi River is right there. Each plantation has its own story. One of the plantations we visited was the Whitney plantation.
At the Whitney plantation, it started off as like any like tour would. Like everyone gathered, they got their equipment, everything was ready. The first thing that they warned us on was the humidity in Louisiana. And they're like, it's not heat that you're feeling, it's humidity. And that was like 95% humidity. It was horrible. Okay. Yeah. It just felt like stank, like just a big pocket of hot stank. And you couldn't move. You couldn't breathe well. It was just very, very bad.
You were guaranteed to sweat out your outfit. Shana and I changed outfits twice in a day. We'd wear our morning outfit, go do what we had to do.
Oh, yeah.
Sweat it out, come back to the hotel room, shower, change again, go out after dinner, sweat that outfit out as well.
The heat and the humidity alone was enough to make anyone go crazy. But I just want to put an emphasis on how hot it was. Because I'm going to tell you something. Let me tell you something. A lot of the things on the grounds were just how they made this sugar out of the sugar canes and like the tools they used. And it was just that heat along with these iron cast, huge bowls. They were just in the middle of the grass. Those were hot enough. And just imagine like those things being on like an open fire, but it's already humid and it's hot and everything. I really felt for those enslaved people because it was just horrible things after horrible things, just like adding up all day long. But just to see what they had to work with and how they made the sugar and everything, it was crazy. But they took us through all of that. And then they showed us the slave quarters where they lived, how they were disciplined if they didn't get certain things done and stuff like that. And I just remember walking through, because there was like a long, there's like this long path where on either side there was like slave quarters, but then there was like the barracks, so wherever they kept the people that didn't measure up to what they were. The jails. It wasn't like a jail, but it was like somewhere where they kept the people, where they disciplined them. Like yeah.
It was their punishment box, but it was pretty much a jail.
Yeah, and this was like a small little box that they put these people in. I kept feeling something buzz past my ears. It wasn't bugs, because I remember looking for bugs, because there was like these big hornet things that would like fly around all the time, but they weren't flying fast enough to where I would just hear like this constant buzzing, this whipping on my ears. And I'm like, that was weird to me. But then as soon as the instructor was telling us about what went on in this area, I felt cold. Like at some point I just stopped sweating. It was the weirdest thing I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
I was so hot. All my clothes were so drenched already. We were only there for an hour. But I just remember as soon as she started talking about certain things, I just stopped sweating out of nowhere. And I was just cold.
Yeah.
It was weird. I was hot and cold. It was crazy. But the instructor took us towards, I guess, the main house.
The big house.
The big house. Where the white people were living. They were talking about, the foundation of the house. We got to walk through it, but only on the first level. The upper level was being redone because something had happened with the house, and it was falling apart, and they were kind of renovating it at the time, so we couldn't go upstairs. We got to walk through this house, and I was taking pictures of everything. I was trying not to, I guess, look for ghosts, But in the back of my head, I'm like, if I take a
Yeah.
picture and if I see something later, and if it's there, then so be it. I'm taking pictures of the grounds, of the land, everything, and then I pan up to the house. So we're walking through this house. I didn't really feel anything or see anything at the time, but I'm taking pictures of everything because the land was just so beautiful, how they upkept it and how it looked and everything. So I was taking pictures of the land and of the landscape and everything. And then I pan up with my camera to look at the house itself. Let me remind you again, nobody was allowed on the second floor because it was the floor itself, like the floor was being redone. So if you were to go up there, you would like miss a step and fall straight through the floor. Nobody was up there. No groundkeeper, no nothing. Nobody was there. I even wandered off a couple of times by myself while
Yeah.
you were like with the group because I'm not really like I'm not afraid to go up by myself.
You're a bad girl.
And in our Japan video, again, I went up by myself up the mountain and ended up in a graveyard. I'm just not scared to go off by myself when I'm looking for certain things. Sometimes in the back of my head, I want to experience things, even though I know you should not do that. Take it from me. Do not do what I do. Do not go looking for something you're not ready to see. I get back to the hotel later on that night, and I'm looking through the pictures. I'm zooming in and seeing like low key. I was trying to find something because at the moment I'm like, in my head, if there's something here, I'm going to capture you on my camera. So, like, I'm going through the pictures, and I happen upon a picture where it looked like somebody was up in that top window where the people were not supposed to go, where nobody from our tour group was anywhere near, nobody on the premises at all except for our tour group.
Oh, yeah. There was no way that it was someone from our tour group because they were with us. Looking at the picture, we were still far enough away from the big house. We would have been the first group to get up to that house.
Yeah. And I have a little surprise for you guys. I still have that picture, so I'm going to insert it here. And I want you guys to look at it because you can see that it's a person standing there, like a woman. She's wearing some kind of like maid's uniform. You can kind of see a collar, like a white collar around her neck. You can see a white apron from her waist down, and she's looking out the window. You can even see like two dark eyes looking out the window. And I had to really zoom into it because at first I saw the apron and I saw the collar and everything. So I zoom in and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh crap, are you serious? I caught a ghost.
It was definitely, a very old-timey outfit.
Oh, yeah.
We scrolled through your phone. The picture before and the picture after had no images. But the one right there, that frame, you caught it in that frame.
Yeah. And I have this, like, habit of taking pictures in threes. When I do that, 3 is my favorite number. It's just a number that's associated with me. I do everything in threes. And I took a picture, snap, snap, snap. The middle one was the one where I caught the ghost.
Yeah.
And I showed it to Renji, and he's like, yeah, I definitely see something there.
Yeah.
I showed it to someone else because we went to something, another tour, and I showed the people, like I was making friends out there and everything, and I showed like the people with us. I'm like, do you see something in this picture? And even they confirmed.
Though I am a believer of the supernatural stuff, I still wanted to check. That's why I mentioned I checked the frames before. Shana took multiple pictures of the same thing. And that one picture showed it. Frame before, frame after. There was no reflection. There was no nothing. And I was zooming in. I was trying to be a skeptic, trying to debunk it.
Yeah.
And I was like, nope. The picture before and the picture after doesn't show any of the same lighting, doesn't show anything. Like this is something that's on the other side of the glass. It's not a reflection.
Yeah.
Again, it couldn't be a reflection because the only people were us, like far away on the other side of the yard.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been a reflection from someone on the ground level with this person on the upper level.
It was in the window, far enough inside the house to where it didn't look like anyone could have just been showing up from like the ground level, like you said. It had to have been someone up there.
Yeah. When we made it to that big house, you could see that they blocked off anywhere to go upstairs.
Even the back way, because I went and veered off by myself, and I saw that they had like areas where it was like bombarded, like you couldn't go up there.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I was gonna go up there, but I took it to another person that we met like sometime later on that evening, or sometime later during the trip, and that person said that they saw a child in that picture right next to the first figure in the picture. There's a little kid, maybe like you can kind of see his head like up to his chin in the window right next to her. So I want you guys to see if you can see it. I can't see it clearly, but if you guys can see it, let me know in the comments below.
I was vlogging as well. I had filmed the same house on video, and I went back and looked through my footage during about the same time Shana was taking pictures, and it's like I didn't see anything in my vlog footage.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I tried hard to debunk it, like, okay, what is this? In my live video, there was no reflection.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made me think, okay, she really captured something that was on the inside.
Yeah.
Not a reflection of the outside.
And that goes to show you, don't go looking for something that you're not ready to see. At the time, I'm like, I would love to see a ghost. I would love to see a spirit. But when you think about it, that ghost that I captured looked like she was an enslaved, like a spirit from the enslaved era. And I felt bad because that's not entertainment.
No.
And after that incident, because I love ghosts, I love paranormal stuff, I love going ghost hunting, I love that kind of stuff. But ever since that day, after capturing that ghost on camera, I personally will not go ghost hunting ever again, because someone's death, you have to think about it like that person's a ghost. And especially during like the enslaved era, like that was somebody's history. You can tell that this figure was longing for something. It's looking out the window. It wasn't looking at me. It was looking out beyond me. And there's so much sadness in this one picture. And I'm probably just being, you could say that I'm being like too involved with this, but it really did look like this spirit was longing for freedom. And that made me feel so bad. Like, you can't go looking for these things, because that's someone's life that they lost during such a terrible time as well.
Just the feeling of being on these slave plantations, the air was thick.
It was.
Felt very uncomfortable. I just wanted to learn about the history. A lot of the travel videos said you need to go to a plantation to really understand what enslaved Africans had to go through.
Yeah.
I had planned a whole day for this trip to go visit at least 2 of the big plantations. Just getting out the car, it didn't feel right. It just felt so off. You just felt there was something wrong. As you learn on this tour, a lot of these people that were enslaved, they died there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the plantations we visited, they had names of every enslaved person there. That one really hurt because they put names and faces together. This person wore this outfit as they worked here. Like, this was that actual person's outfit.
But they also had a children's section.
Yeah.
They made replicas out of clay, and they put them in the church. There was a church on the grounds where we first went to on this tour, and they had the children like strewn about all over this church. But then they also had what they called the Valley of Angels, and that's where all of the enslaved children, or children that were born into the enslaved, where they buried these children. They had this big statue erected of this angel, this baby angel, and it was just very sad. And in this area, they encourage you not to speak, and they encourage you to be more respectful, and you can't mess around or anything like that, and you just go into it just very respectful. And honestly, I just went in there and I prayed. It was just so surreal to see that kind of thing.
I cried. At some point, I saw too much and I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Just seeing the names of people and what they did and how they died. There was one memorial dedicated to the enslaved that tried to rebel. It was gruesome. Long story short, there was a group of enslaved that made a run for it. Some of them made it. But the ones that got caught were all the young children, age 17 to like 7.
Mm-hmm.
The plantation owner captured all the kids, cut all their heads off, and put it on a pike along the stretch of highway to remind any slaves this was their fate if they try to run.
Mm-hmm.
An artist made a mural of every head that was on a pike. He recreated with some clay sculptures so they wouldn't be forgotten.
They all had white ribbons around their eyes, and this was a big one. Like, they told us, if you're gonna mess around, if you're gonna like be like stupid or whatever, don't go in here. Because as soon as you walk into this little area where they have the clay heads on the spikes, like all the energy just drained out of me. Honestly, it was horrible.
Artists didn't want them to be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't any fault of their own. The sad thing was the adults escaped,
Mm-hmm.
but the kids got caught. The kids were used to make an example for everyone else.
Yep.
I went to this plantation not to see ghosts or whatever, but just to learn. But I should have expected the spiritual energy that was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we say don't go looking for things if you're not ready for everything that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready for all the spiritual energy and the pain to channel through my body being there.
Oh, yeah.
There was a couple people that were there walking in like, oh, yeah, we're going to a plantation. But when you saw them towards the end, everyone was just like, holy shit.
They didn't say a word. There was like this group of young boys who went in there, and they were just all about jokes. They were like cracking jokes and just being like, you know, kids during the start of the tour. But then towards that end, when they got to like the heads on the spikes, they were like drained too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would take this as a personal lesson of myself. I learned the hard way. Don't go looking for something that you're not ready to see. And I definitely was not ready to see someone on the plantation from like eras back.
Mm-hmm.
I was not ready to experience, and mind you, I took this picture before we got to the spikes and before we got to the Valley of Angels. It was, the whole tour was just a big lesson. By the end of it, I was ready to just, just go home, because I'm like, wow, I wasn't even ready for this tour, let alone some spiritual stuff happening. So yeah, I learned the hard way. And honestly, ever since that day, ever since I took a picture of the person on the plantation, the spirit on the plantation, I will never go looking for any of that kind of thing ever again, because someone's death is not your entertainment.
New Orleans spiritual energy was so raw.
It was.
We still had the car rental that same day. We went to the battlefield where they fought the Battle of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. As soon as we got out the car, you felt it. It was just a big open field with a plantation off in the distance. The battle they fought here was also very vital to American history.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Jackson recruited pirates to come fight alongside Americans.
That was badass.
Andrew Jackson, one of our American presidents, I don't think he was president at the time, but he became president. Anyways, he recruited local pirates because they didn't have enough manpower to fight the British troops.
Mm-hmm.
Because the port and the water area around New Orleans was that important to America.
Yeah.
This dude was desperate. He gathered farmers.
Mm-hmm.
He gathered anyone who had a gun, but he recruited pirates and paid them to come fight alongside the Americans. There's cannons over here and open fields.
Yeah. There was like trenches too, like where you could see like the trenches are still there.
Yeah. You just felt the energy. You knew people died here.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of people died here in this battle.
But real quick though, I couldn't imagine being in the middle of battle and these pirates just come out of nowhere, out the water, just like, yeah, bitch, Jack Sparrow in this bitch.
You looking around like, how did he get this boat in the field?
Exactly.
There's no water here.
I was so enthralled with this. We were in this like museum or something that was showing everything that happened during the battle. I was watching like all the video footage the reenactment videos. I'm just like into it. I'm like, somebody give me some popcorn. I'm into this shit. Like, and then the pirates came, and I'm like, pirates? They had pirates? Yeah.
Oh yeah, like the pirates became such a vital part to the New Orleans history that they were famous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I forgot what the pirate's name was, but there's like bars named after him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's a part of the history because it was his band of pirates that came
Oh,
to
yeah.
help fight.
He was a G. And
So he got to get away with things.
Whew.
He helped save that city.
And they had a whole segment about him alone. He was a badass MF. Like, he was just amazing. I was just sitting there, like, getting into it, like, and then what else happened? And then what happened? It was so cool.
He's such a part of New Orleans history that there's sightings of his ghost in certain streets, like where he used to hang out.
He probably going down the street like, you better act right. You better act right. I was there and I straightened your little ass up.
Yeah, there's some establishments in New Orleans that have been there for hundreds of years. I forgot the name of it, but it's the oldest bar in New Orleans.
We went there.
It's been there for, 300 years?
A long time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been there since the beginning of New Orleans. It's so original that it doesn't have electricity.
No. I went in there to use the bathroom, actually, and my God.
It's candle lit only once the lights go out.
I had to ask for a lantern to get to the bathroom. I'm like, can I have a lantern?
Yep. It's one of the oldest bars, if not the oldest bar in New Orleans. It was started by either that pirate or his brother. Once again, correct me if I'm wrong. I've been drinking, kind of forgot the actual history. It was crazy to think about that. You tell me this is the same bar. Not much has changed since the pirate that joined the battle.
There's like dirt floors in there. And of course I went in there alone, but it was packed because people were in there and I felt okay. But like there was no electricity. You were led by candlelight. I feel like I had to put on my New Orleans best to go in there, my little ye old best, my little ball gown. Before we get off the subject of New Orleans, because this trip was epic, I was waiting to take another trip and then pandemic hit. But anyways, during one of the haunted tours we took throughout the French Quarter, our tour guide would take us to certain haunted houses throughout the French Quarter. I only really knew about Madame Lalaury's house, all of the torment that happened there. She was basically someone who was a slave owner, and she was like a wealthy lady of the quarter or whatever.
Which American Horror Stories season was it? That's what most people will know it from.
Watch Coven of American Horror Story, and her story is basically a part of that whole thing. But she was basically a slave owner who tortured her slaves and used the blood of the young people, or like even like just slaves in general, to keep her young and healthy. She used the blood to make like some kind of like elixir or mask or something like that. Madame Lalaury's house was on that tour, but the very first house we hit, I do not remember the name of this house or who was haunting it, because there's a good explanation for that. As soon as we got on the tour, again, like even in the dead of night, this was like probably like the tour started at 10 o'clock at night, and it was still humid. Still humid and still super hot.
Yes.
Still
Facts.
no sun in sight. There's no sun. It was dark, okay? And it was still humid as hell. I was still drenched, and I wore like a skimpy, like really thin material dress on top of that, and I was still drenched. So the very first house we got to, they were talking about this man that used to live there. He had a wife, and his wife had passed away in the house. The tour guide described his wife to be like his whole world. Like this guy was like in love with his wife. He was just enthralled by her. Like he was just mesmerized by her. And then when she passed away, he pretty much went down a dark spell. And after the tour guide started saying something about the guy going off the deep end after his wife died, I blacked out for a while. Like I kind of turned my attention from the tour guide to the house.
Yeah.
I was looking towards the house and I was just staring at it. Because again, low key, I was looking for something to happen. I was looking for a ghost. I was looking for something to like pop off. So I'm staring at this house as the tour guide was talking. I heard the first part of the story, but for some reason, for the life of me, I cannot remember the rest of the story. And I'm just staring at this house and I'm just like doing one of these, like looking at it sideways and looking like this. And like I was in a trance. I don't know where you were at the time. You were like listening to the tour guide or whatever. I just stopped hearing the tour guide talking for a moment. I'm just like, what is going on? I just felt like a Twilight Zone moment. Like,
Mhm.
doo 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 doo. Like, I was just focused on this house. At some point, I realized I wasn't hot anymore.
Mhm.
I was so cold. We weren't even on the property. We were just across the
Yeah.
street from this said house. I tuned into what the tour guide was saying. There's other spirits in this house. Something else had gone on in this one house. And he kept saying people who have rented this house because it was so dirt cheap, people will rent this house over and over and over again, but they can never stay in this one house
Yeah.
because they keep getting visited by these ghosts that are tormenting this poor house, led by the guy who, lost his wife. And then there's other spirits there. And that's all I kind of caught before I got like drowned out by this house again. And as I'm sitting there, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting shivers. I'm like, why is it cold all of a sudden? And I'm like holding my arms like this. And I'm just like looking at everybody else, and no one else seems to be noticing this. And I'm like, what is going on? Because we went through the whole entire tour without a hitch. This one house, I don't know what it was, but the tour guide was like, yeah, anyone who's ever rented this house has always had an experience. Always, something always happens. And I'm just like, really? I'm cold as hell just standing across the street from the damn house. Imagine if you lived there. I would never be able to.
During that tour, I was very in where I was absorbing everything and feeling it, and then I was out. There was one very drunk Korean uncle that was there. He was so drunk that the people that brought him there were embarrassed of him.
Oh, yeah.
They kept trying to contain him. At some point, they just gave up. He was just so belligerent and talking shit like, oh, is there a ghost in that house? I don't see a ghost. And he was just so annoying. There was one moment where I noticed my shoes on top. I bent down, and this same uncle farted in my face. He just, ugh. I don't see anything scary, and he just walked off. His butthole was inches from my face. I remember taking a picture of him and putting on Instagram like, this mother effer just farted in my face. Someone come get your drunk Korean uncle.
When we first started the tour, it was between him and his brother, it seemed like. And his brother, at the very first house where I'm getting the chills and shit, walked off because he had a sneezing fit.
Yeah.
He was like off across the street in front of this said house, just over there having a sneezing fit, just like in front of this like creepy ass house. I'm like, can you move away from the house?
No offense to my Korean fam out there, but yo, whoever's Korean uncle that was and sneezy Korean, y'all ruined a portion of this tour.
And he continued sneezing the entire time.
And Korean uncle was drunk the whole time, and
he
y'all
kept
knew
drinking.
him. Yeah, we had like a break where we stopped in front of a convenience store. The tour guide was like, hey, if you guys want to go get some more drinks, some more beer, go ahead. Guess who was first in line? Korean uncle was up in line getting himself some more beer and liquor. He's ready to get himself more drunk. And it's fine. You want to bring your drunk family members, but you have to be responsible for them. The brother and his wife just gave up.
They're like, you know what, you're on your own.
Yeah, and this dude just started walking all around the tour, talking his drunk shit like, hey, I don't think it's really haunted. And people were getting pissed like,
Yeah.
Whose uncle was this? Well, unfortunately, there weren't many Koreans on this tour, so we know who he was with. I'm a jungle Asian. We don't look like Koreans. The rest of the people were white and a couple black people. So, Korean brother and Korean wife, he's with you automatically.
And I want to give it up to the tour guide. I think his name was Jack. Jack was amazing. Yes. I want you to imitate his voice for me real quick.
Jack had this sultry, smoky voice. He was the perfect tour guide. He was, all right, give me a moment to get my smoky on. All right. We've just arrived at the Lottery Mansion, the most tragic house in New Orleans. Madame Lalaurie was a beauty in her day. She couldn't fight time. She was starting to age, but she wanted to remain beautiful. Madame Lalaurie had slaves. She noticed they never aged. She wanted their blood to maintain her youth. Oh my God, my throat hurt just doing that, right? Our tour guide, Jack, did that for the whole tour, the whole 2-hour tour. You have now arrived at the house of the Sultan. The Sultan had 4 wives.
He talked like that the entire time. And I want Renji to reenact it because he's good at that shit.
It was so epic. It was such a selling point. And I posted a quick clip of him telling his stories on Instagram. And a couple of my friends were like, dude, you had Jack too? They knew Jack.
Jack, man.
Jack's voice was the Morgan Freeman of scary stories.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the Kmart, where the deals weren't that good. So they started slashing people, not prices. But anyways,
He
Jack,
talked just like that.
Jack's smoky, I smoke 5 packs of menthol lights a day voice sold the tour so hard. Anything he said was scary. All right, guys, we've reached the halfway point. If you want to go to use the bathroom or get a beer, be my guest. Meet back in 10 minutes. I felt I was going to die if I wasn't back in 10 minutes because Jack's voice was so convincing.
I love Jack.
But what was funny was when he snapped out of it, the tour ended, right? But this is when it showed how much Jack believed in the stories he was telling. He stayed for an extra 10 minutes. A couple of us asked him if we could talk to him after the tour. He was like, yeah, I got a couple minutes. So we started talking to him. We noticed he was looking at his watch. He was telling us a story to just a handful of us. Someone asked him, we know it's your job to tell these ghost stories, but have you been haunted? And Jack didn't hesitate. He even broke character. This is how scared he was. He's like, remember, Jack was like, if y'all need to go to the bathroom. Jack quickly was like, actually, there is a story. I come down the street at the end of the tour, and I always see this one man in a pirate hat, and he always nods to me every day. I'm sure if you guys have noticed me looking at my watch, if I don't get on this bus by this certain time, this man is going to see me. I've been doing this for years, and I'm terrified of this man. He always sees me at some point in this tour, and I make sure I get home before a certain time. I'm not trying to rush you guys. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is the same guy that was like, breakfast at the Hilton Hotel is 9 a.m. For him to just talk on some regular shit like, I'm going to cut you guys short, peace out. We just thought he was trying to rush and leave the tour.
Right.
You know, we were looking at time. He had plenty of time.
Yeah.
But you could see in his face, he was really scared. I think someone was even like, dude, if you want to hang out, get something to eat, we'll pay for your taxi. We'll get you some food. Jack did not flinch. He was like, no, I got to go. I really have to go. And we sat there like, this dude is serious because you could see it in his eyes.
Yeah.
He was not trying to stay past a certain time. I was trying to vlog and Jack was like, okay, are you guys good? I was trying to walk him to his bus. Jack's an older guy, mind you. He was at least 55 plus, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like 60.
Yeah, Jack was at least 60.
Yeah.
I was just trying to vlog. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I vlog and get you on camera? He's like, yeah, as long as we do it while we're walking. He's like, I cannot miss this bus. You know, we'll pay for your taxi. He said, no. I have to catch this bus. I can't stay any later. So I'm trying to vlog him. And this old man who took his time to the tour, he's power walking to this bus.
This little old man, too.
Yeah, and Jack just took off.
I just want to emphasize the fact that when we got to the halfway point, when he like let us go off and get drinks, because we were in the middle of the French Quarter when we were taking our break, so there was bars all over. The pirate bar that you had mentioned earlier, that's the one where I used the bathroom, and I asked Jack, I'm like, hey, you're an incredible tour guide. You've been the best this entire trip. Like, can I buy you a drink? I was trying to buy this guy a drink because he's been talking this whole time. I'm like, hey, VIP, drinks on me, like, let's just go get some. And this guy, like, just how his voice was, like, that's why I wanted Renji to imitate his voice, because it was just so hard and so passionate. It's just so, like, this is the story, I'm telling it. I wanted to treat him somehow, and like I wanted to show my appreciation and tip him somehow. He would not accept an alcoholic drink, and I realized why shortly after this. I bought him a Coke. He wanted a Coke for some reason. I bought him a Coke at the very least. When we got to Madame Lalarie's house, he told the story in that same voice, but then he was like, guys, heart to heart here. This is the one and only times he broke character. He's like, heart to heart here. Every time I come to this house, he's been working here for 20 years, but every time I come to this house, he gets the EBGBs and he just can't be there for very long. He will go out of his way to turn his back towards this house. He will go like kind of down the street where we can kind of see the house, but he will not get close to this house. He said to us straight up, if you guys want to walk up to it, I'll be right here. He would not step foot to it. And we asked him, we're like, what's going on? He's like, as many times as I've been here, I can't shake the feeling here. It's so bad. It's so dark. It's so deep. As many times as I've done this tour, the same tour he does every day, he does not go to certain places too close. And I asked him personally, I'm like, why don't you ever want to get up close? And he's like, I just feel the pain. I feel the pain here. Anywhere I go throughout the French Quarter, I feel the pain, and I can't get too close because I feel it too much to where it makes me feel like I should not be here. But this is my job. This is what I do. So that's why I kind of compromise in certain ways, why we go so far away from these places, and I don't want to go too close to it. But this guy, just as husky as his voice was, he was such a sweetheart. And he was so gentle, and he was just so, like, he was an empath for real.
Once again, for those that don't know about the Lalaurie mansion, this lady was like a French diplomat or something like that. She had slaves in her manor. She had slaves in her mansion. She had them up in the attic where she would torture them and cut them for their blood. What's scary about the Lalaurie mansion was when the police finally did something about it, they kicked in the door, stormed it, and there were still slaves in the attic. Some of them were dead, some of them were barely alive, and they could back up the stories of how they were just cut up and used for their blood. This woman really thought the blood of slaves would keep her youthful. These are facts. These are real facts in the news. If y'all want to read about it, Shana and I were looking for this place during the day. We didn't even have to know that we got there. We felt it, and we would stop. Oh shit, we're here. So I don't blame Jack for being afraid of this place.
Oh yeah, but when he told us about the ghost that he always sees, it just triggered something in my head, like, this guy's serious. Like, he's the real deal. That's why anytime I'm in New Orleans, I will request Jack to do all of my tours. I don't even care, like, if it's not even what he does.
Yeah. Hashtag not sponsored. If you guys ever go to New Orleans and you book the Haunted History Tour, ask for Jack. Haunted History Tour, ask for Jack.
And this guy was so skittish. I wanted to co-sign what Renji had just said, because I watched this little... He was like, I'm 5'6". He was probably like 5'5", a little shorter than me. But he was like scooting. He was getting out of there. As soon as he told us that story about the guy he always sees with the hat, the pirate hat that tips him off, like just kind of like nods at him. And I watched this little man scoot off into the distance when you were like following him around with the cameras, like trying to block him one last time. But then, like, what was scary was when I went out, because this was like where we ended up was right in the midst of Jackson Square. It was like one of the areas where you can like walk down and like, you'll see a chapel, but it's all a part of Jackson Square.
Jackson Square has a lot of history. They used to do public hangings in that square.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of death and pain in that square alone.
Mm-hmm. So this is where we ended the tour. And as I'm watching little Jack scoot away, I go out to like where the Jackson Square like look plaza area, I guess is. I'm looking for Jack because I see you running back towards the group. And I'm running out towards you and I'm like, where did Jack go? Because I glanced away for a second and he was gone. And I'm like, what happened to him? He's like, yeah, he kind of left, but I didn't see where he went. I went and asked one of the psychics that were out parked in the plaza. And I'm like, hey, did you guys see for any chance like 5'5" older gentleman with silver hair? Did you see anyone run past through here? They're all like, no.
Oh,
I didn't see anybody. And I'm like, you had to have seen it. Because at that time, those psychics would have just seen him. I looked away for a second. I kid you not. I looked away for a second and I see Renji scooting towards me and I see Jack just not there anymore.
Where I last talked to Jack, it would have taken him at least another 5 minutes to get to the street where the bus would have picked up. Because we're in the square where he has to go all the way to the main street. Where we all were in Jackson Square is pedestrian only. I felt the same thing. I turned around and Jack was gone. He just disappeared.
He must have been booking it out of that square because he was like just really that scared.
He either booked it or Jack was never there.
Ooh.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
But then drunk uncle would have definitely seen him then.
Drunk uncle didn't even know if he was in New Orleans or in a K-pop video. Drunk uncle, oh my God. If I ever see him again, I'll punch him in the dick.
You will probably never see him again.
I know what he looks like. I'll never forget his stupid ass face.
If he was real or not, love Jack.
All right, guys. We have hit a good stopping point for this week's episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed these Halloween stories. Maybe we can sneak one more in before the month is over. Or screw it. Who says Halloween can't spill over to November? Because November sucks anyway, right? We can have Halloween month number 2.
Ooh.
We can continue it. But anyways, guys, let us know in the comments below if you guys are liking these stories, if you want to hear more, got stories of your own. Make sure you follow us on our social medias, Facebook, if y'all still use that, Instagram, but also follow us on OnlyFans. Shana has hers established, plenty of free content. I created my account. I still need to post some shit. If y'all loving the podcast and y'all want to support us, OnlyFans is a great way to do it. It's simple. It's safe. So check out the OnlyFans. It's onlyfans.com/Mostella/fanservice_Renji. I forgot. It's been a minute, but you'll find me.
Follow me on OnlyFans. I got my shit together, okay? I got stuff on there that y'all can follow and like, and I will shoot you over to Renji whenever he gets his shit together.
Yeah, Shauna's been posting for a couple weeks now. Thank you so much for listening to another Halloween episode of the Shinobi Squad Podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And I'm spitting with every word here. Okay.
Stop.
I know, because I got to clean these mics off. Anyways, we appreciate you guys tuning in every week, whether it be the YouTube, whether it be the audio only, if you're on Spotify, Podbean, whatever your favorite source of podcasts are. We appreciate you guys so much. It's a pandemic. Y'all can listen to anybody right now, but y'all choose to listen to us, and it makes me tingle in my belly. So I want to go, hee hee, people like us. But anyways, thank you guys.
I'm Shana Mostella. Thanks for listening.
I'm Fanservice. Hey, I say my name first. Start over. Anyways, I'm Fanservice Renji.
I'm Shana Mostella. Thanks for listening.
You taking the words out of my mouth. One more time. You just say, I'm Shana Mostella.
Fine.
Gee. Quit taking away the thing that makes me special. Anyways, I'm Fanservice Renji.
I'm Shana Mostella.
We'll see you guys next week.